Good morning, this is Vicki.
And this is Jo.
And we're the Two Natural Ladies.
And we talk about the good news we all need and ways of getting the most out of life.
We help people with practical, uplifting ways we can all make a difference.
And we're striving for better, not perfect.
And we love a good laugh. Please enjoy the show.
You're with the Two Natural Ladies, and we have Elizabeth French on the line.
Yes.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hello.
Well, so, Jo.
Yes, so Elizabeth is from the Natural Health Society, and she's been with the Natural Health Society for about 25, 30 years. And
a bit more than that.
Oh,
since 1973.
Wow.
Oh, hang on, I've got to think.
So
I think it's like 48 years.
Wow. Why, how did I get... Oh, I don't know why I only had 25, 30 years. How dare I? So, wow, that's amazing. And I was actually introduced to the Natural Health Society by a mutual friend, Janet. It would be about 30 years ago that I was introduced to it. So, yes, of course, you would have had to be involved for longer than that.
Yeah.
And so we really have... Oh, yes, I can see, 1973. It says here. So you were actually a founder.
No. The society started in 1960, so it's been around for 60 years.
Oh, you've been involved since...
Yeah.
See, if I'd kept reading, I would have read that. Anyway, so the involvement has meant that you have brought up 4 healthy daughters, and now at 71 years with an 80-year-old husband, you are doing extremely well health-wise with none of the diseases that normally plague people.
Oh, very inspiring.
So what drew you to the Natural Health Society back in the 70s?
Oh, I think I can remember reading a newspaper article about the Childbirth Education Association, and they were teaching mothers how to, birth naturally. And it made sense to me that we should go back to the way, nature did things rather than otherwise. And so that was my... Well, no, I went even further back than that. When I was 18, there was a bloke called Lord Cordell. He was an American who came to Australia, and he was talking about eating more natural foods. I think he had a range of supplements to sell as well. But he was talking about using whole foods, using whole grains, and so on. So that's sort of where I started to get interested. And then I was married and I was starting to have children. And so the Natural Childbirth Education Association came in there. And then it was a few years later. I just not long had my second child. And a friend came to stay with us I was in Brisbane. She came to stay with us from Sydney, and she had just joined the Natural Health Society. She had a new baby as well. And, she brought some magazines and a couple of books, The Hygienic Care of Children by Herbert Shelton, which is a sort of an absolute classic of natural health. Well, they called it hygiene, which basically means health in Greek, I think. So that's what got me started. And so once I joined the Natural Health Society, I was getting this regular input from the magazines, and it just went on from there.
That's so interesting, because one of the things that got me interested in natural ways of being was I read a book called Spiritual Midwifery at the age of 17, 18, and I just thought, I love this whole idea of natural ways of giving birth and natural ways of living. It's amazing the things that are pivotal in our lives, isn't it?
Absolutely.
That bring it. So tell us about the benefits of whole food, plant-based diet, exercise, fresh air, etc.
I think the benefits are, this is what we were designed to do. We were designed to eat raw, really, mostly raw natural foods. That's, if you go back to our ancestors who living in caves and so forth, yes, they did have fire, but even before that, if you look at our nearest relatives, the apes, they range a long way and they eat fruit mostly. It's all plant and it's all raw. It's not fired. And, as soon as you start cooking things, you start to interfere with the ingredients. So, we do eat some cooked food, but the basis of our diet is raw salads and fruit. Well, I suppose the proof is in the eating. And the fact that Roger, at the age of 80, is exceedingly healthy. He well, I did too, ran in the city to see last year. That's 14 kilometres.
Wow.
He ran, I only walked. But he's been doing that since 1971. You know, there aren't too many 80-year-olds who are around, you know, keeping up that sort of level of activity. So, you know, the basics for, if you look back to our way back ancestors, that's, you know, the secret was that they were eating natural foods just almost as they, you know, well, as you picked them off the tree, virtually, or dug them out of the ground, or however you got them, and eating them without firing them. And then to get all this food, you actually had to do some exercise. And I read recently, some time ago, the fact that when the people, you know, for example, the cave people, you know, they'd wake up in the morning. The first thing they did wasn't go to the refrigerator and pull out something to eat. No. They actually had to go looking for this food. So they actually got exercise. And apparently our levels of adrenaline or cortisol I think it is, one of the hormones, is quite high. The levels are quite high in the morning. And by exercising, we actually reduce those cortisol levels. And of course, you know, cortisol's what do I call it? The fear hormone, no.
So it's better to reduce that, yeah?
You don't want high cortisol levels in your body at any one time, and exercise will get rid of it. So, you know, just think of, you know, you wake up in the morning and you go for a walk and you know, go and pick the fruit from the trees a fair way away. If you look at if you look at the apes, for instance, that's the sort of thing that they do.
I think what we could do here is I could walk to Vicky's and I could pick the figs off her tree.
Yes, you could.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, and I could walk to the beach and come back and pick the figs off my tree.
Keep going. Sorry, Elizabeth.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, so that's basically it. You know, you eat the food as naturally as you can get it. You make sure you get some plenty of exercise. Rest is the most important thing. You know, is a really important thing. Most of us, because of now we have electric light, we stay up too long. We don't get the sort of sleep that we need. And of course, we're looking at screens and so forth, which have an effect on our sleep. So we need to stop looking at screens much earlier and then go to bed and rest. And we need to take time to enjoy ourselves rather than go, work all day long and all night long sometimes. We need to do, you know, deep breathing. Like yoga's a really good thing to do because the basis of yoga is breathing. And so just if you're walking through the forest, you're going to be getting deep breaths as well if you're going for a long way. But, you know, the mindfulness of yoga breathing is really important as well. What are the other things we need? Water, pure water.
Yes. Talk about that.
Well, preferably water without the things that the authorities put things in our water to keep us safe, namely chlorine, because otherwise there could be bacteria and so forth that could damage us. But chlorine has some harmful effects on the body. So, you know, if you can get water that doesn't have chlorine in it, you're much better off. We use a tank at our place. We've had a tank for years and use rainwater. And the other thing that means is that you're not getting fluoride. You know, the authorities, in their wisdom, which I just don't think is very smart, decided to add fluoride to most of the water supplies in Australia back in the 70s, 80s or thereabouts in the last century, and for the benefit of people's teeth. But there are lots of damage that can be done to the body by fluoride as well. So you're much better off finding a source of water that doesn't have those things in. You can use, get a filter, reverse osmosis filter, which will take those chemicals out. Or you can use rainwater, provided you're in an area that doesn't have a lot of chemicals that are going to get into your rainwater tank.
Yes, I've got 4 sons, and when my second son, who's now 31, was born, I started buying pure water that was reverse osmosis water from a health food store. And after, I don't know how long, about a month, my husband said, "This is ridiculous. It's costing us 60 cents per litre of water." And so we bought a system and we've had one ever since, and we love it. And we would often do, with friends, although most people now get it, but 31 years ago they didn't so much. We would actually have a glass of water from the tap and a glass of water from our filtered water, and you could taste the difference. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. You also talk about fresh air and sunshine.
Sunshine, also already mentioned the fresh air bit, I think, but the sunshine is really vitally important. We need vitamin D. So, and it's much better to get it from the sunshine rather than taking vitamin D supplements, because body, you get some indications. What's the story? So the vitamin D from the sunshine, the body can regulate it, if you like. If you're getting the supplement, you can actually end up getting too much. So, obviously in places where there's not enough sunshine, then you might need to worry, but I think Australia's certainly not one of those places. You do need to get it, you need to get the sun on a large part of your body. It's not just enough to get it on your face and your hands. You need to make the effort to get out a bit less clothing on and get some sunshine. It's, probably a maximum of 15 minutes a day. And the thing is, I think the body actually stores vitamin D. So get out and get as much sun in the summertime as you can, so that you've got a store there for when winter comes, and it's not so pleasant to be out
particularly in Melbourne. It's a bit hard.
Yes, particularly in Melbourne.
Yes, you can get. I get a lot of sunshine on my face, and I don't put any sunblock on. But having anything more than hands and face exposed in the middle of winter is a bit tricky.
Exactly.
Although, occasionally we do have some lovely days, and if we're able to get sun in our house, we can sometimes do that.
Somebody told
the trouble is,
go on.
If the sun comes through the window, you're not getting the same benefit.
Right.
Yes, that's what I was told.
Yeah. The glass blocks the.
So we've got to get
whichever rays they are.
The good stuff. Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess it's like having a cold shower. Get out into the backyard and strip off for 15 minutes and get your sun, your winter sun. In fact, often the winter sun is beautiful, so just, have to be cold for a bit. That's wonderful.
And fasting. You've got fasting here, yes?
Yeah, well, fasting's something that, there's a lot more information around about it these days, although a lot of it has to do with intermittent fasting and, sort of all sorts of different regimes where fasting becomes a part of it. And, whether you're fasting on juices or you're fasting on whatever, a fast in the traditional way is nothing but water. And fasting it's a really miraculous thing because our bodies know how to heal themselves if they're given the right conditions. If you're sick, the best thing you can do is go to bed and fast, particularly if you have a fever, because that's an indication that your body just wants to rest. Everything basically stops if you've got a fever. Your digestive system really closes down and you don't feel like eating anyway. So the best thing you can actually do is go to bed, sleep as much as you possibly can, do nothing but drink water. And, when people get sick, or particularly when children get sick, everyone thinks, we've got to do something. And the best thing you can do is do nothing. Yeah. And allow the body's natural forces to take over and the body will heal. Just like, if you cut your skin, as long as you keep it clean and don't do further damage to it, the cut will heal. Our body will take over and do that healing. And fasting is really quite miraculous. Roger used to work at Hopewood Health Retreat at Wallachia, which unfortunately no longer exists. But that was there for more than 50 years, where people would go and either, just have a holiday with a natural diet, or, if they were sick, or if they just wanted to do a strategic fast, you might call it, they could go there and fast. And Roger saw some amazing results of healing when he was there. So, it is quite amazing. There was one example that he gave, a fellow who he had worked in, who's a market gardener. He grew flowers. And so because he was growing flowers and not vegetables, he used sprays very liberally, chemical sprays. And he ended up with cirrhosis of the liver.
Oh, my
which
gosh.
is normally related to alcohol, but apparently he didn't drink alcohol. And, the doctors basically said, there's nothing we can do for you. You'll be dying. So his wife took him to Hopewood and he fasted. And over that time, I think he fasted for 2 weeks, and over that time he vomited many times, and he could taste all of these chemicals that he'd used over the years as a market gardener. So, our body knows how to get rid of all of these things out of the body if you give it the right conditions. And when you fast, all that energy that would be used for digesting food, that's no longer needed. So that energy is then used to break down tissues like the fat stores and so forth, and eliminates what it doesn't need, feeds the body with what it does need, and healing takes place. It's really quite remarkable.
Wow.
I've been through my own journey with fasting and water fasting and even fruit fasting. I stumbled into fruit fasting because my stomach decided it didn't want me to eat anything else apart from fruit, and I did that for I've even lost count. My husband thought it was months. I thought it was weeks, but
it was a long time.
I was eating fruit, and I actually felt amazing, took off weight. A lot of people were worried because they thought, the fructose and the this and the that, but I was as healthy as anything, and then I went on to discovering intermittent fasting and water fasting. So, yeah.
Look, I think fruit is really our most natural food. It's sweet. And, possibly the fruits that we these days are oversweet. They may be because they've been cultivated to be that way.
Yes.
But I think that's one of the most natural things that we can eat. And so if your body's telling you to only eat fruit, well, good. Yes. And the whole intermittent fasting thing, I mean, I was listening to a practitioner in the United States, Dr. Alan Goldhammer. He runs
love him.
True North Health Centre. And he was talking about fasting recently, and he said, intermittent fasting is really having 2 meals a day. You can do it in other ways, I suppose, but, Michael Mosley's made a big thing about it, but, and he's given it a name, I suppose, like that. But, the ideal, Alan Goldhammer's ideal was, have your first meal about lunchtime, in the middle of the day, and then have another meal, 6 hours later or so. And that's it for the day. And it's certainly, I have a friend who sometimes says, I'm fasting. Well, basically, that's what she's doing.
Right.
I do that regularly. I find that I can cope with that very well because you can still eat as many calories. And that's the other interesting thing, and I've certainly found it in my own experience, that if I eat like that, I can maintain my weight, can control my weight much better than if I eat 3 meals a day, even if the sort of number of calories is similar, not that I count calories. And there was a Professor Ray Carney at Sydney University many years ago. He was doing experiments with mice, and he discovered that if those mice, he was introducing cancer and seeing how they stood up to that, but he found that the mice they gave the same number of calories to, over a 6-hour period, but then, they were fasting the rest of the day, were much more resistant to the cancer than those who had access to the same number of calories for the whole 24-hour period.
Yeah, it flies in the face of what we've been taught, hasn't it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah. Personally, I don't think it matters which 6-hour or 8-hour period that you actually eat, but if you actually, only eat in that window, you're going to be a lot better off.
Also, you talk about positive thinking.
Well, it's second nature, I think, for me. Sort of having, looking on the bright side rather than looking for all the doom and gloom in the world. It just makes life a lot more interesting and pleasant. I think if you've got something to look forward to, if you sort of see the positive side, it just makes life much, much better, I think, for everyone. I spent the weekend with my sister, she's got a broken arm that she's dealing with, and her husband has some sort of mental, dementia type issues. But she's so positive about the whole thing because she might say, "Oh yeah, it's not fun dealing with this," but then she'll tell a funny story related to it. She has a very, very positive attitude about the world and always looking for the bright side. It's really important, I think, for our health. Rather than, it's so easy to get depressed. I mean, if you look at the state of the world,
Yes.
various sundry things are going on there. You think, oh my goodness, how did we get to this state? And we're all the climate, the ecological system, everything. This all seems to be going to rack and ruin. But basically, and my opinion is, I can make a difference in my world, and every step that I take that is a positive one, that's all I can do. I can't change the world. I have no intention of trying to change the world. But if I can, in my own little sphere, I can do what I can do and, sort of live the best life I can, I suppose, then it's amazing. Over the last 40-odd years since I've been involved in natural health, the number of people have sort of looked at, for example, when I was teaching, and I'd take my, the fruit salad or the vegetable salad or whatever it is to lunch, and the other teachers, oh, well, that's interesting. What are you doing there? And, would ask questions about it. And it made a difference. It did make a difference to their attitudes too. And where I'm currently working now, once again, I take this huge salad to eat every day, and I share it with one of my workmates. So I go into the kitchen where other businesses sort of congregate as well, people from other businesses, and so now I notice what they're eating. They come in and they have their little party, and it's mostly natural foods. It does have an influence on people.
Yes. Well, we were talking earlier, Elizabeth, about how we're actually all interconnected anyway. So, whatever we do is actually making a difference, and it could be making a bigger difference than we even realise. So
exactly,
and that's great. Now we want to hear about what the Natural Health Society is up to. We hear a little bird told us that there's a webinar series starting.
Yes, so we've got 6 amazing speakers. And the first one, first cab off the rank, if you like, is Robin Tudor. She's a naturopath. She's currently based in Queensland. Whole food plant-based eating is the basis of her practice. And she's an excellent speaker. B, she's had some wonderful experiences to impart. And look, off the top of my head, I forgot to actually check exactly what she's speaking about.
That's okay.
But I know, it's to do with natural health, and it will help to put people on the right track if they're not already there.
How do we get that information? How do we get involved?
Go onto the Natural Health Society website, which is www.health.org.au. You'll find the webinar series listed there, and all of the speakers. It's a whole $49, I think it is, for the series.
Wow. For the whole series, for the 6?
Yeah.
Wow.
6. And the beauty of it, it's on a Tuesday night. It's 7:30 every Tuesday night for 6 weeks. But the beauty of it is, if you can't get on at that time, you will be sent a link to the recording of it, so you don't miss out.
Oh, that's great, because we're up at 4:30 on Tuesday, so often by 7:30. So great, wonderful. Oh, I'll be doing that.
And actually, this is the 3rd, I think, in our series. With COVID last year, when we were about to have a full day seminar with some wonderful speakers, we weren't able to have that. So that's when we went to doing these webinar series, which was really fantastic. Now, all of those, the talks from all of those series are actually available for sale on the website for $10 each.
Wow.
So, that's something else. We've had, like I mentioned Dr. Alan Goldhammer before, so he was one of the speakers. We've had this current series, we've got another speaker from America, Dr. Pam Popper, who's she's the speaker at the end of the series. So, we've got some really interesting speakers. Dr. Greg Fitzgerald's a very popular speaker in Sydney. He's a naturopath, osteopath and chiropractor with a lot of experience. He is invited to the National Health Association of America, which is sort of the Natural Health Society equivalent in the US. So he's invited to speak at their conventions every year. So he's quite a high-powered and very motivational speaker.
So you made a really good discovery last year, didn't you, with the going on to the webinars? Because now all of us around Australia can benefit.
Absolutely. Yeah, and we've had overseas people too. It's really good that we've been able to spread a little wider with our message. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the most important thing about this whole thing is, why did you pick I Am Woman as your song?
The number of reasons. I think the message in it, for a start.
Yes.
I am woman, hear me roar.
I love it.
No, I'm strong, I am invincible,
Yep.
I am woman. No, I actually sing with a Sweet Adeline's chorus. And last year, Sweet Adeline's choruses, I don't know if you've heard that, they're women's a cappella choruses. They're quite, 30-odd of them in Australia, I think. And last year, one of our members actually arranged the, I Am Woman for four-part harmony, women's four-part harmony, and every chorus went off to somewhere in their local area, some scenic place, to sing it, and then it was all put together as a video, I suppose, with the singing in the background. And when Helen Reddy died last year, someone had shared this with someone in her family, and it was actually used at her funeral.
Yes, I heard about that, and you were part of that, because I'm a big Helen Reddy fan, and I adore this song. And I must say my boys would roll their eyes when I'd play it, but I don't care. But yes, and I heard about all these a cappella singers in Australia, and there you go, you were one. That's very exciting.
Wow.
Well, look,
It was a very great a privilege to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Well, it's been a privilege to have you on.
It has been amazing, and you sound so young and vibrant. I love it.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
And please say hello to Roger. I'm actually planning to speak to him on the telephone in the not too distant future, but it certainly has been wonderful to speak with you and find out so much more and hear your passion. And I'll definitely be going on and
it's affirming and confirming, because certainly a lot of the things you've been talking about, I've been discovering and living myself into now my 50s, and it's very affirming to know that we are on the right track. Yes.
Yeah, well, you can get into your 70s and still be, doing pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you again. Have a wonderful day.
Yes.
And here is I Am Woman.
You've been listening to the Two Natural Ladies podcast. Visit twonaturalladies.com.au for more information. Thanks for joining us.